Okay, today we're going to talk about multi-step problems involving complex numbers. Um, and if you haven't already watched the previous video about adding, subtracting, and multiplying with complex numbers, you really need to go watch it, because this is going to assume that you've already watched that video. So now that we've done that, how are we going to go ahead and make it more complex? Well, I'm just going to make a multi-step problem here, and I need to solve this. Okay, and you should already know this, but a quick reminder. But when we have an order of operation problems, the way we solve them is with PEMDAS. Okay, and this stands for parentheses, exponents, multiply and divide, which we do together left to right, and lastly addition and subtraction, which we do together left to right. So here's my problem. It says 2 parentheses 4 minus 3i parentheses 3 minus more parentheses 1 plus I parentheses squared, another parentheses. So the first thing I have to do is parentheses, and we work inside out. So we always do what's most inside, and then we keep working out from there when we have more than one set like we do here. So the most inside is right here. So the first thing I want to do is 1 plus I. Well, of course I can't do 1 plus I because those aren't like terms. So now I got to deal with the next thing, which is going to be the square, because exponents comes next. So let's first talk about what this is, 1 plus I squared. Well, if you're not 100% sure, you can always just write it out as 1 plus I and 1 plus I. That's what 1 plus I squared means. So we're going to go ahead and do 1 plus I and 1 plus I. And we're going to multiply them, and we're going to use the distributive property. And we get 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times I is going to simply be I. And we'll do it again with the I. And we get I times 1, which is another I. And then I times I, which of course is I squared. And that simplifies to 1 plus 2I plus I squared. And remember that we already decided that I squared is equal to negative 1. So we're going to rewrite this as 1 plus 2I minus 1. And 1 minus 1 is 0. So this is simply 2I. Okay, so we now know that 1 plus I quantity squared is simply the number 2I. So we're going to rewrite that as 2I, because the rest of this all went away. So now let's go ahead and rewrite. So I got 2 plus 4 minus 3I. 3 minus, and we decided the rest of this thing in here is 2I. And our work for it is right here. And now we're going to keep going. Well, now I got 3 things multiplied. There's 2 times this thing times this thing. It doesn't matter the order that you do it, because it's all multiplied. When in doubt, though, we're supposed to go left to right. So I'm going to follow our rules left to right. And we're going to multiply in. This is distributive property, so we're going to multiply like this. So we get 2 times 4 is 8. And then 2 times negative 3 is negative 6I. And now we got one more thing to multiply. And as we're going to multiply this one by this one, so we're going to go 8 times 3, because we're using distributive property again. So 8 times 3 is going to be 24. 8 times 2 is negative 16I. Yep, and then we're going to go back. And negative 6, don't forget the minus sign. It stays with the negative. So negative 6I times 3 is going to be negative 18I. And lastly, we got negative 6 times negative 2. A negative times negative is a positive. 6 times 2 is 12. And then the I times I is I squared. And we have a middle term that we're going to have to clean up. So we get 24 minus 16 minus 18 is going to be minus, let's see, 34, I think. Yeah, minus 34I. And then plus 12 times negative 1. Because remember, I squared is negative 1. 12 times negative 1 is going to be rewritten as minus 12. So we got 24 minus 12 is just simply going to be 12 minus 34I. And that is what our final answer is going to be. So this is an example of a multi-step problem. There was lots of steps to go through here. And that's what's going to take it up in level from simply an add, subtract, or multiply. So we're going to give you lots of practice problems like this, but you just need to do multi-steps. But it's just like our first example. So make sure that you go back to that first video if you're having trouble with the individual steps.